Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Fisher with the Planetary Science Institute. Jane Pointer's position as the president and chairwoman of Paragon Space Development Corporation requires that she travel extensively. So beginning tonight, Jane and I will share the role of hosting AZ Illustrated Science. Though it is still hot and dry, we have seen a few clouds and even a few raindrops here in southern Arizona now that the monsoon has officially begun. Tonight, we explore some of the hazards associated with monsoon storms and what you can expect weather-wise this season. But first, here's a look at today's top stories.
The U.S. Supreme Court today struck down a portion of the Voting Rights Act. Arizona is one of the states directly affected because it, along with a number of southern states, are required to get permission to change any voting laws to ensure those changes weren't discriminatory. The U.S. Supreme Court struck that provision down.
It is pretty much left for groups and individuals to sue for potential discrimination. So it puts the barriers on voters, not the states and the county elections officials.
Supporters of the ruling say there are still plenty of protections in the law.
This really has nothing to do with what most people think of as voting rights. For example, access to the polls and prevention against intimidation. All of those protections remain.
Changes in Arizona's voting maps and locations for polling places are among the types of changes that now no longer need approval from the U.S. Justice Department. A new study shows overall improvement in charter schools nationwide, but that's not the case for Arizona. According to an annual study from Stanford, Arizona charter schools are lagging. Arizona's average reading and math scores for charter school students were lower than the scores of their peers in traditional public schools, according to the report. In Arizona, as in most states, underserved students benefit from charter schools, the report showed. The autonomy that charter schools have allows them to more easily control the distribution of resources, and the report says that when that happens, the schools have done well. And that's a look at tonight's headlines.
Often mistaken for mudslides or rock slides, debris flows are considered a significant hazard in Arizona's mountainous areas. Debris flows occur most frequently during the monsoon. They are made up of mud, sand, soil, rock, and water, and often resemble flowing concrete, entrapping vegetation, rocks, and sediments as they move downhill, sometimes for several miles. Georgia Davis recently visited two areas in the Catalina mountain range to see the effects of some ancient and some much more recent debris flows.
Every summer, the monsoon rains transform the desert, nourishing the plants and wildlife with much-needed water. But the rains can reshape the land itself, and researchers are working to better understand how that happens.
If you look at the boulders that are here at the Finger Rock Canyon mouth, they're all transported down by debris flows. They're not transported by floods.
Debris flows occur when a steep mountain slope gives way after a heavy rain saturates the soils. Large boulders, fine silt, vegetation, soil, all mix with water and flow downhill. The thicker the mix, the more it flows like concrete.
So if they're coming down a canyon where the walls confine them, they don't lose much water, and they get to an area where they can spread out, then they spread out and typically drop the coarse, the boulders first, and then they might, the finer grain stuff may go a little farther, or maybe water will continue to go out further as a flood.
Sometimes these flows travel for miles before settling in the valleys.
This big boulder stopped here, and the debris flow got caught up behind it and deposited these boulders, and then it probably went off, continued off downstream over to my left. The boulders that I'm standing on, and all the ones around us, certainly were initially picked up, well up into Finger Rock Canyon, at least a half mile, potentially quite a bit farther than that. Done some dating in collaboration with the USGS on this particular deposit is maybe as young as 5,000 years, so pretty long in human span, but really young geologically. Behind me, there's a much higher and older set of debris flow deposits with a saguaro on them. They're part of a much more extensive set of debris flow deposits that date more like 10 to 15,000 years old.
While the boulder deposits near Finger Rock Trail come from debris flows that occurred thousands of years ago, probably during the transition from the Ice Age to the climate we are more familiar with today, it is possible to see the effects of much more recent debris flows in a popular destination for tourists and Tucson locals alike, Sabino Canyon.
We had 4 or 5 days of rain, finally had some thunderstorms at the end of that.
And then a storm kind of parked itself in this area, and more rain falling on already saturated soil caused slopes to fail.
Thin cover of weathered material, soil, basically on top of bedrock on these steep slopes, was saturated in such that when one more rainfall event came down, it was enough to cause it to fail like shallow landslides, sliding down on top of the bedrock.
In just a few minutes' time on a summer morning in 2006, Sabino Canyon was dramatically changed.
Well, when we came to work, it was July 31st. You know, our folks started to come up the canyon to do their jobs, and the road was actually cut out at Rattlesnake Canyon, and so they couldn't get up the canyon. The water level was high, and we literally could not get up here for several days.
Debris flows happened in several locations in the canyon.
So there were four separate small landslides on these steep slopes behind me that all came together and coalesced in almost like a forked shape is what it makes. But they all came together down slope and formed a debris flow that continued on down.
Here it was taller than me. It was tall enough to bury a building. There was a rather large rock near the bottom of those stairs that said 3.7 was etched into it to let people know how far they had walked, and it was later deposited towards the bottom of the hill here.
The upper reaches of the canyon needed hundreds of thousands of dollars in repairs, and popular hiking trails like the Phone Line Trail were closed for months.
The debris flows cut out the road in one section. In other places, the road was completely buried. You would not even be able to tell that a road was present. In one area, the asphalt was actually lifted up and rocks were deposited under it. There were boulders the sizes of cars that were in the middle of the road where the road was exposed. The restroom up here was buried. This turnaround area that's now paved was under a boulder field. And some people thought that the canyon was destroyed, and actually this was a rare event, but it was a natural event, and Sabino Canyon did exactly what Sabino Canyon should have been doing. It took what came down and, moved it through.
The kind of rains that brought on the debris flows in Sabino Canyon only happen once every 1,000 years or so, making it an incredibly rare and special event.
The area of geology that I'm most interested in is geomorphology, what things that shape the land surface, and to be able to be alive when one of these 1,000-year events occurs and have it be on your doorstep is a pretty remarkable thing.
But debris flows are considered a significant hazard because they can pose a threat to infrastructure and homes.
Any kind of human facility that goes up into these canyons is definitely at risk from debris flows. Sabino was a great example.
Debris flows do require rain and are most likely to happen in the monsoon, but it is fire, not water, that has geologists most concerned.
If we have fire, we're really changing the equation in terms of how important debris flows are. If it's going to be a 1,000-year precipitation event that causes them, well, those things happen, but they don't happen very often, right? So just kind of rolling the dice with those. But if it's fire, and fires are occurring in forests every few decades, then that is a much greater likely trigger for both flooding and debris flows.
Scientists predict that hotter, drier weather conditions in the coming years will mean more wildfires, and that could mean more debris flows.
The fires occur typically in the spring and early summer, and then they burn the vegetation in parts of a watershed. And if the burn is severe enough, then you basically remove everything that would catch the rain. So if we have a sort of typical summer thunderstorm after a fire, even something that might occur every couple of years, there's enough runoff from the watershed to cause debris flows.
Researchers with the Arizona Geological Survey do map debris flows, and they are attempting to better understand the role of fire.
In terms of the kind of fires that we're having in the West, throughout the West, not just in Arizona, one really big area of research is to try to figure out in advance what watersheds might be vulnerable to debris flows if there's a fire.
While scientists may be able to predict with some confidence where debris flows might happen, they still cannot predict when they might happen, since that all depends on the weather.
So, what will the monsoon be like this year? The National Weather Service's Glen Sampson is here in the studio to tell us. He is joined by William Sprigg, a professor at the University of Arizona Institute of Atmospheric Physics, who studies one potentially deadly hazard associated with the monsoon, dust storms. Gentlemen, thanks for joining me here today.
Thank you.
Glenn, I wanted to start out and ask you, what have the weather conditions been like leading up to this year's monsoon, and what sort of monsoon can we expect?
When we look at climatological forecasts for the monsoon, there are a number of indicators there. We can look at sea surface temperatures, we can look at land temperatures or surface conditions and such. And when we take all of those and look at them, there's no strong indication that we're going to have a very wet monsoon or a very dry monsoon. So what that means is it's looking kind of average. The indicators this year are very similar to what we saw last year. So if you remember the monsoon from last year, we're going to kind of repeat it again. For the Tucson area, that basically meant we got an average amount of precipitation, which is about 6 inches.
And Glenn, what causes dust storms?
Well, there are a number of factors associated with dust storms, and there's really two types of weather phenomena. We can have what's called a large-scale weather phenomena, say where we have strong winds across the entire state of Arizona, very dry land, so it picks up some dust, and we basically get dust all over. That's kind of a situation where you get up in the morning and the mountains look a little hazy or such, and it's just very widespread dust, not very low visibilities, but certainly noticeable. That's one type. The other type is where we have a thunderstorm that occurs, and we get some strong winds coming out of that. It hits a dry patch of land where there's dust, and it picks it up, and we get kind of a smaller area of dust, but it's very low visibilities and such. So when we're looking at the monsoon, usually what we have are thunderstorms. So we get those strong winds coming out of the thunderstorms, creating dust, very low visibilities in specific areas. One of the ones that's most notable is across I-10 between Tucson and Phoenix. So a person can be driving along and visibility can drop down to 0.
And Bill, in your research of dust storms, what sort of tools do you use?
Well, first of all, we really have to identify where the dust may be. It may be an abandoned farm or a ranch or something where there's bare dirt, or it may be in the desert, and around here we have plenty of that. So we need the NASA satellites to give us an update all of the time of what those dust sources, where they may be located, and how dry it may have been. And then the other tools that we use, numerical dynamical models, basically a weather model that has a dust generator in it. And so the combination of these things, where we're using satellites to monitor the dust sources, and then the weather model that generates all of the meteorological parameters, like the wind and the precipitation, and these thunderstorms that were just mentioned. So then we apply all of those tools to come up with a simulation or a forecast. We really want to try the forecasting, and we have been quite successful in that as well.
And Bill, you brought in an example of your research work. Could you briefly explain what you've brought in today?
Yes, well, we were able to model and predict the 5 July 2011 dust storm, that haboob that everyone saw, I think, in this area on television, and videos of it went viral on YouTube and so on. So it was very well publicized. This storm was a mile high. It was 100 miles in length, some 30 miles deep. So what you see in this model output, this is generated data coming out of the model. You see 1 hour time steps at 3.5 kilometer spatial resolution, little squares. You'll see them on the map. And each one of those squares has a calculated amount of dust. What you see here is the organization of that storm, how it progresses entirely through the region of Phoenix, Maricopa County, and so on.
Okay. And Why are dust storms a hazard? Obviously, there's the traffic collision situation we talk about, but what other impacts do dust storms have on people's health and so forth?
Well, it certainly increases the susceptibility we have of asthma, cardiovascular problems, respiratory disease, but also in that dust is bacteria, viruses, and in this area we're very concerned about valley fever. Valley fever spores are in that soil and they get picked up and carried as well. So inhaling any of this material can be hazardous to your health.
Great. Well, gentlemen, I'd very much like to thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
The Supreme Court today struck down a key provision of the Voting Rights Act, arguing there was no longer justification for subjecting mostly southern states and counties to federal oversight.
Marsha Coyle breaks down the major rulings, and we debate the court's 5-4 decision on voting rights, as well as the likely fallout.
Then President Obama unveils a sweeping plan to combat climate change without congressional approval. We get two takes on his proposals.
Colorado prepares to roll out a new way for residents to get health insurance. Betty Ann Bowser reports on the challenge of getting people to buy in.
There are 800,000 uninsured in the state. Probably 600,000 to 700,000 of those will need to be educated by September. I think it's a monumental task.
When I'm gonna go back home.
And we close with singer and actress Audra McDonald, her recent whirlwind of new career challenges and the one place that keeps calling her back.
I feel most at home on stage. For me, it's the rush of being forced to be so in the present.
Avoid navel contemplating floppy-haired actor.
And that's all ahead on tonight's NewsHour.
The Supreme Court says a key part of the Voting Rights Act is unconstitutional. States that have suppressed minority votes will no longer need federal approval before changing election laws. That is, unless Congress passes an updated voting rights bill. I'm David Green. We'll look at the historic ruling and its political implications on the next morning edition from NPR News.
The ability to predict dust storms has important implications for researchers. It could also save lives. Last year alone, 2 people were killed and another 74 injured in traffic accidents linked to blowing sand, soil, and dirt. Arizona Public Media's technology contributor, Jason Katterhenry, tells us about a new app designed to help drivers navigate away from dust storms.
Of course, monsoon weather means drivers need to be on the alert.
Monsoons create a host of challenges for Arizona drivers during the summer. Not only do you have the heavy rainfall, lightning, and floods, you have dust storms.
While dust storms do not occur every day, when they do happen, they can be tragic.
They can be terrifying. You get a situation where all of a sudden you're driving along the roadway, you can see clearly, and then in a matter of seconds you could have a situation where you have a wall of dust that can limit your visibility almost to zero visibility.
Many people are killed on the highway because number one, they either don't pull off to the side, or if they do, they leave their foot on the brake or they leave the car running. So the lights are on, and drivers who still think they can drive through the dust storm see those lights and think it's a moving vehicle and then plow right into the rear end.
In the past couple of years, the Arizona Department of Transportation has sponsored its Pull Aside, Stay Alive campaign about prevention and not driving into a dust storm in the first place.
I'm an app fanatic, first of all, so I really like apps.
Kirk Astroth is the Associate Dean of the University of Arizona College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. He is also the developer of a new app designed to help drivers know what to do in the case of a dust storm.
I think a lot of people just don't know what to do when they get caught in a dust storm, and there's some very simple things people could do, and this app, I think, helps raise that awareness.
So the app is actually pretty simple. It's pretty good for just someone who doesn't know anything about dust storms. At the bottom of the app, there are 3 buttons. The home button, which will take you to the 3 places where you can find out information. There's another button here that lets you see the things that you should carry with you at all times in a vehicle. One button lets you take a look at some safety tips in case you find yourself caught in a dust storm.
These are tips that come directly from the Department of Transportation, which admits that sometimes dust storms surprise drivers.
Our top recommendation is avoid getting caught in one of those dust storms. However, a lot of these dust storms seemingly strike out of nowhere.
If you do get caught off guard, gradually slow down.
Look for a safe place to pull off the side of the roadway, off the paved roadway. Come to a complete stop. Make sure you turn off all your vehicle lights, set your emergency brake, and simply just wait out the storm.
Or prepare in advance by dialing 511 to get updates on the latest traffic conditions, using social media tools such as the ADOT Twitter feed, watching the overhead message boards while you are driving, or by checking your phone.
And it's got a way to check for any active alerts that might be on the stretch of road you're on.
Because it feeds off of Weather Service alerts, it's good all over the country.
Kirk Astroth has even used the app himself.
You know, I haven't seen a lot of dust storms, and so when I first saw this one, I looked up and you could see it looked like fog, actually. It was this, and I thought, that's odd. And then I realized, oh my gosh, it's a dust storm. Checked my app, and sure enough.
Granted, he suggests pulling to the side of the road first.
Somebody asked me once before, well, would you advise checking that while you're driving down the road? I said, obviously not. That would create another hazard, and that's the reason for the app is hopefully you download it, look at it, you know, read the information and get yourself prepared.
The Organization of Teratology Information Specialists, or OTIS, is a nonprofit medical association that does birth defects research and makes treatment recommendations to patients and physicians regarding expectant and nursing mothers. OTIS has gathered a group of internationally recognized experts meeting here in Tucson to share their findings. Joining me in the studio is the current OTIS president, Dr. Kenneth Lyon Jones, the first researcher to identify fetal alcohol syndrome, and Dee Quinn, a certified genetic counselor. Ken and Dee, thanks so much for joining me here today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Ken, first of all, what is OTIS?
OTIS stands for the Organization of Teratology Information Services, and it's a group of teratogen information services throughout the United States and Canada that have joined together to do mutual research projects and also to provide service to pregnant women and women contemplating pregnancy and women who are breastfeeding. So we are organized to try to give information to these women about issues relating to their pregnancy.
Great, thank you. What are some teratogens that are a threat to unborn and nursing babies?
Well, alcohol is the main one. That's by far the most commonly known human teratogen, but there clearly are a variety of other ones. Anticonvulsants are clearly a threat to the unborn baby, and there are a number of them, and some of them are more severe teratogens than others. Coumadin, which is a blood thinner, is a teratogen, and there are a variety of other ones as well.
Okay. Indeed, OTIS is currently holding an international conference here in Tucson. Who's in attendance at this conference, and what are some of the topics of discussion?
Well, we have about 90 of our members here today, for this week during the conference. We're a pretty diverse group, so that we have physicians, genetic counselors, nurses, healthcare providers of all sorts, and as well as researchers who gather together every year to share information and think about other research projects that we can get involved with in an effort to try to answer some of these questions for pregnant and nursing moms. We've had a lot of very interesting topics. Some include the treatment of women who have mental health disorders during pregnancy and breastfeeding. Mm-hmm. One of the things that's come up for us recently is the use of codeine in women who have just delivered. It's not uncommon for them to be given codeine at delivery. And in the very small proportion of those women, when they're breastfeeding, the way they metabolize codeine is different from others, and so the baby can get very large doses of codeine and get toxic. Okay. So we're looking into that and ways to try to avoid that in breastfeeding women.
Great. And Dee, what is Mother to Baby, and how can interested people get involved in that program?
We are a consortium of individual services throughout the United States. We all have a national toll-free phone number that pregnant, breastfeeding women and healthcare providers can call. That phone number is 866-626-6847. That phone would be answered by a person like myself. Again, the call can come from anywhere in the country. We also have information on our website, which is www.mothertobaby.org. That website has fantastic fact sheets. There are about 100 of them. They're all written in English and Spanish. They're all at about a 7th grade level, so they're really written for the public to use for their information. But we also have information about our research projects. So we're currently doing studies on autoimmune disease in pregnancy, asthma in pregnancy, and the use of vaccines and or women who get viral infections during pregnancy. So on the website, women can look at these research projects, and we would greatly appreciate their input into those. This is a field that really suffers from not as much information as we would like, and one of our goals of OTIS is to try to gather more information through these research projects.
Great, thank you, thank you. And Ken, as problems with birth defects associated with the drug thalidomide in the 1950s and 60s, drug developers began to exclude pregnant and nursing women from clinical trials. How are researchers now able to determine which drugs or treatments will have an adverse effect on the fetus or nursing child?
Right. So the usual way that drugs are studied as far as their effect on the developing fetus or the unborn baby is through post-marketing surveillance studies. So by that, I mean that they are, obviously you can't take a group of pregnant women and put them on a clinical research floor at a hospital and give them a drug to find out how they respond to that drug and how that baby responds to that drug. And so what we are dependent upon is taking women who are on a drug during their pregnancy, either inadvertently, early in their pregnancy, or women who are taking a drug because they have to, because they've got some chronic disease. So we follow those women through their pregnancy, and then after their baby is born, we look at their babies to look for birth defects, and we take extensive histories on those women to determine when they were taking those drugs during the pregnancy, how much of that drug they were taking during the pregnancy. And we also look at those babies from the standpoint of prematurity, being small for gestational age, and this kind of, we look at miscarriages, et cetera. And that's the way most of these drugs are looked at the present time in terms of their effect on the unborn baby.
Great. Well, Ken and Dee, I would like to thank you very much for joining us today, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of your conference.
Thank you.
That's our show. To post a comment on any of these stories or to keep up with the latest news, go online to our website at azpm.org. I'm Alan Fisher. Thanks for watching.